Hi, my name is Miguel Parga. I am the best-selling author of What They Didn't Teach You in Film School. I've also been a film professor for the last 14 years. This is another one on my series of videos on how to make movies at home with whatever equipment you have available. Which, by the way, I'm working on my new book, Making Movies at Home with Whatever Equipment You Have Available. I'm actually almost done with the manuscript, so I'll be handing that in pretty soon, a little later in the summer. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have the release of the new book. Just stay tuned for those announcements coming up. Okay, so I got a question from one of my readers, and I figure I'd do a video to answer that question because oftentimes questions repeat themselves, and that way, not only that person, but everybody else who's listening can get the benefit of that answer, right? You might have encountered the same problem before. So this is a question from a reader that I've interacted with before, very talented filmmaker from Greece. Her name is Luna. I'm gonna actually link to one of her music videos. She's done many down below, so you get to experience some of her fabulous work. And this is a question that she sent in because she ran into not really a problem, because when you look at the video, you wouldn't say that she had any trouble shooting it. It looks fabulous, but this is something that often happens on sets, and that I've had this problem myself. I know many of my students have had it, so I figured I'll tell you a little bit how I deal with it so that you can try and apply to the situation that you're in, okay? So here's the problem. She was giving her actors a lot of freedom to do whatever they felt like from take to take. And of course, as the actors do that, they're trying to create organic performances, which is what we want. It became difficult later on during the editing process to edit some of those takes together because the movements of the actors, or even sometimes the emotional content, might have been different, right? So if the actors have total freedom to do what they want during the filming of your film or your music video, then you may end up with some takes that do not match in terms of continuity later on. So it'll be difficult to cut them together. So here's how I deal with that problem. First, the answer I'm going to give you is on a best case scenario. And this is one of the things that we have to understand about film, guys, is that oftentimes we do not operate out of the best case scenario, right? Sometimes we are short for time, we are short for money. Actually, we're always short for money and always short for time. So this is just the nature of filmmaking, right? So I'm gonna tell you what I prefer. If I have the resources to do what I want, this is what I prefer to do. Is sometimes I don't get to do it and I have to shorten that process and do it in some other way. So we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. So often what I do is that I like to have 3 rehearsals with my actors, 3 rehearsals minimum if I can, okay? And this is the way that I break them down. On rehearsal number 1, basically what we do is we read through the script. I bring on all the actors, we sit around a table and we read through the script. And this is a perfect time for you. I often tell my students, this is the time for you to give them your director's statement, right? What is this about? What inspired you to do this? What are you hoping to achieve? What is the tone of the piece? That way, everybody involved gets a sense of where we're going, right? You're the director. You're the one who has to steer that ship where it needs to go. So this is a good opportunity to make that clear to the people that are involved. And it's also a great opportunity to answer questions about the past of the character, elements of the story that are not on the script that you may want to talk about because they inform what's happening in the story. It's a great opportunity to answer questions about motivation, about the arc of change of the character. All those things are things to be discussed during that first reading of the piece, okay? I often read through the script at least twice in this rehearsal. And if there are actors, for example, that have a lot of interaction together, like let's say the two leads, I try to sit them together, not side by side, but facing each other. And I encourage them to make as much eye contact as possible. Of course, remember that they don't know the script, they don't know the lines, they're still reading, so they'll be reading, but every once in a while they'll lift their heads and they'll try and play a little bit of those moments, right? Try and kind of feel their way through some of those moments. So very important time, right? Very important rehearsal to kind of get the actor started with that. So that's my first rehearsal. On my second rehearsal, I bring in the actors depending on the scene separate, right? And then what I do is I give them an empty room. In that empty room, I may put in certain props. If I know there are props they may need during the scene, let's say that a character is doing the dishes in the kitchen. So I'll try to put some dishes there so that they can actually go through the activity. Okay. I don't ask my actors on this second rehearsal to be off book. In other words, to know the lines. So they'll have the script as well. But what I do give them is the freedom to do whatever they want. They're going to move however they want. They're going to do whatever that feels natural to them. And what I'm looking for is that organic sense that the performance is happening in real time, right? That is coming out of truth, that is coming out of reality. It's important that you give the actors that freedom to do that. Because not only is it going to be important for them to find where the performance lives, but it's also going to inform the way you want to shoot it. The actors may move in a particular way, and it may give you ideas. Oh, wait a minute, I'm going to shoot it this way or shoot it that way. Being informed by the way the actors performed during that rehearsal. During that rehearsal, I also take the time to do exercises with the actors, in particular to create the past of the character, right? So if let's say there are two actors and they're playing husband and wife, so oftentimes we'll do an improvisation of the day they met, or maybe the day of their wedding, or something to that effect to inform the performance. Even though that stuff is not on the script, it's not in the movie. However, it'll inform the performance of the actors. So this is the rehearsal to do that, to play around, to find their way through stuff, okay? If you're working on a period piece, and I mention it because the video that my reader sent me is a period piece, okay? So if you're working on a period piece, it's also a good idea for the actors to start working with some of the costume choices. Especially for the women, if they're wearing skirts or types of costumes that they're not used to wearing on a regular basis, that they're just from the past and they need to get used to that, to walking around with these things. This is the time where I start doing that, right? So they'll wear an approximation to the costume, okay? And that's my second rehearsal. On my third rehearsal, then, and by the way, in that second rehearsal, I'll start moving them around as I see fit. I'll say, keep that. I love that movement. I don't like that. But I don't nail them down to what they're going to do yet, 100%, right? I still give them the freedom to move around and kind of change things as we go from take to take or from rehearsal to rehearsal. And then on my third rehearsal, first, if I can, I'll have the actors come in full costume. It's important that the actor rehearses in their full costume because they feel different, okay, when they're wearing the clothes of the character. In particular, the shoes, okay? They make a huge difference. And think about how different you feel when you're wearing flip-flops as opposed to wearing boots, right? It gives you a completely different way of walking, a completely different way of moving around. So it's important that the actor gets used to wearing that costume. So in that third rehearsal, I do full costume rehearsal. It's also important that the actor puts on the actual costume before we shoot, because there may be something about it that makes them completely uncomfortable. And you want to find that out during that rehearsal as opposed to on the day of the shoot. The same goes for wigs or hats or whatever it is that they need to wear. Make them wear it on that dress rehearsal so that you get a sense of, is it possible for them to wear it throughout the shoot and perform the way they need to perform. And then during that rehearsal, if I can, I should say, I try to do that rehearsal on set. If it's available to me, I'll do it on the set in full costume. I often have my DP with me at that time so that that person starts getting ideas of, okay, how are we going to light this? How are we going to shoot this and all this stuff? And there's going to be input coming in from that person. So then I run the entire film. I run it like a play. I go from scene after scene after scene after scene. I usually run it at least twice, the entire script. This is usually for a short. On a feature, it's a little bit more difficult, but if I can, I'll do it. And then during that rehearsal, I then for sure nail down where the actors need to be and the movements they need to make, okay? And I insist that my actors write on their script, what is it that I'm doing? When am I crossing to this chair? When am I sitting down? When am I picking up this prop? When is all this stuff that they write it down on their script? If you're working, for example, on a music video, you can write it down on the script of the music video. That'll have the lyrics of the song or whatever part of the song it is that they're doing, right? If this is what I'm doing here, this is what I'm doing here now forever. Okay? So that it is set. On the day of the shoot, I often don't have time to rehearse. And that's, right, one of the big problems about shooting low budget stuff sometimes is that you're very limited in terms of the amount of time that you have with the actors or the performers. So I'll set up, I'll light my set, I'll do everything I need to do to get the shots that I'm gonna get ready, and then I bring the actors in and I'll run the scene once. Usually in that one run through, I can remind the actors what we worked on in rehearsal. Okay? What you don't want to do is come into the shoot and try to figure out what the performances are all about during the shoot. You don't have time for that. You only have time to shoot oftentimes, right? You have a day where you have a full day of shooting and there's no time to sit down and discuss motivations of the actors, arc of the character, all this stuff. No. That happens during rehearsal. And in particular, during that last rehearsal, right? All the movements and everything that's going to happen in the scene gets set there. So then I remind the actors, okay, this is what we did here. This is when you pick up the gun. This is what this happens, blah, 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 blah. So that when I shoot my takes, the performances match and continuity is not broken. Now, this isn't a perfect scenario, right? We all know, guys, that in film, it's very seldom that we get the perfect scenario. Often what happens is that we're short in time. I haven't seen, the actor is working, it's busy, or the performer is busy. They're coming in and I just have that one rehearsal and then suddenly I have to shoot. Okay, so look, the thing to remember is this. Let's say that all you have is a couple of run-throughs and then you have to shoot. The thing to remember is this. Give the actor the freedom to do what they want to do so that they get that sense of things being organic. Okay? Let's say that you only have 2 or 3 run-throughs. On that first run-through, they have full freedom. Now, by the time you get to the third run-through, you have to set those movements down. So it goes from total freedom to maybe 50% freedom to no freedom at all, because now we've decided, okay, I love that movement. If you like it, we're going to keep it. And every time you say that line, you're going to get up and pick up the glass of water and drink. Okay, so that when I shoot it, at least I have some sense of continuity. Of course, having a continuity person on set always helps. A person that's paying attention, not only to where the axis of action is and all that other stuff, the 180 line is what I'm talking about, but also what are the actors doing, how do they look, how are they doing it, when are they picking up the glass, when are they doing that, when are they punching, when are they getting up, when are they dancing, and all that other stuff. Okay, so this is from the point of view of a filmmaker making movies. Of course, if you're making a music video, there are things that are different about it, but I try to keep that rehearsal schedule the same so that the actors get the opportunity to really give you an organic performance, but at the same time, slowly as that progression of rehearsals happens, whether that progression happens over a period of weeks or days or a period of minutes, right before you shoot, the actor gets the opportunity to be free and to express what's inside of them so that they get that satisfaction of having the organic performance. But later on, as we get closer to shooting, those movements have to be set. That way I don't run into trouble later on when I'm editing. So hopefully this was helpful, not only to Luna, but to everybody else. If you like the content and would like to hear more about future seminars, projects, and the upcoming release of my new book, How to Make Movies at Home, subscribe to the channel and follow me on social media. Thanks for watching.